Hey guys, how are you? Happy Thursday. How is everyone doing? If you're watching us live or maybe you're watching the rebroad, it is awesome to have you here. Fantastic. We're so excited to be back to class for many of those who were maybe on holidays last week and they're in back to class now. It feels awesome to be back there. I know classes, the challenge workout has been really, really challenging. Yes, as I see Sherry Lynn coming on. Hey. And Lindsay, I know it's been challenging, but doesn't it feel so good to get back into the swing of things? It feels great. Okay, so the good news is we are in Spring Inch Loss Challenge and we are only in week 3. So we still have 3 more weeks left. If you feel like if you're off track, or maybe you've fallen a little bit behind with your workouts, or you didn't get a chance to do all of those March break workouts, we're only on week 3, so there's still a lot of time. And as you know, it's about those little small steps. So that's what we're planning on talking about today. We're going to talk about a small step when it comes to your food, and that is portions, how they've changed over the years, what is a proper portion size to get you the results that you need, and of course, what do you do if you've got to go out to eat for work, or maybe you've got kids in hockey and you're in arenas and you're finding yourself confused as to what you can eat. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. It's awesome to see so many of you here. Yay! Okay, got your water? I've got my water here. We're set to go. So let's talk portion distortion. Okay, we're going to begin with serving sizes, and as you know, these have changed dramatically over the past 20 years, and a number of studies indicate that as you are given more quantity of food, you're going to eat more, right? So these bigger serving sizes are going to cause you to eat more, and that can be really confusing for someone who is really trying to lose weight or lose inches, and they think that they're eating all the right foods, but what we don't realize is we've become accustomed to these serving sizes. So last week, actually a couple weeks ago, we talked about sugar, and we've talked about the changing bottles of pop. I have that graphic or that photo here, and you can see over the years what's happened. Back in the day, we're reversed here, that little bottle was what we were having as soda, and then fast forward and look at that. That's like 2 or 3, actually probably 3, maybe even 4 of that little bottle. So that just shows you how servings have changed. Now, I want to show you some graphics this week to show you how popular serving sizes have changed over the years. And these graphics are from the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute from the States, actually. But it does a really good job of showing us how things that we are used to having have changed, okay? And what we think is normal is like supersized. And I think we know that. So here is a bagel. Okay, so 350 calories today, 6-inch diameter today, but 20 years ago, it was just 140 calories. It was half the size, 3-inch diameter. So we've really become accustomed to these large serving sizes. Okay, so that's the first one. Also, cheeseburgers. Okay, so if you went and had a cheeseburger 20 years ago, you were having something that was maybe around 333 calories, which isn't bad for a meal, typical meal. But now we're looking at 590 plus, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to restaurant choices. But it just shows you how much that has changed, a difference of 257 calories. If you're someone who loves spaghetti, and I know Italian growing up on pasta, always my plate looked more like what they're having today, but 20 years ago, you can see this little plate of pasta, still a whopping 500 calories, which is a lot if that's what you're having, but now it's more like over 1,000 calories, and we're doubling the size, we're doubling the meatballs, but we just have come to think of this as normal serving sizes. I've got a couple more for you. I have this one here, 2 more for you. I wanted to show you French fries because, again, what we think is normal is so much larger than it was 20 years ago. 210 calories versus, I think that's 600, I have to look close, 610 calories. So a huge difference there of about 400 calories. Look at that, how much that has changed. And finally, just your typical sandwich. So if you would have had a sandwich 20 years ago, and say you would have had a grilled cheese sandwich or a turkey sandwich, you were looking at something more in the lines of this right here. Okay, about 320 calories-ish. And today, whoa, almost 1,000 calories. Wow. So you can see that serving sizes have dramatically changed, not just a little bit, but as we become used to this supersized society, that's the kind of stuff we're eating. And for an entire meal. So as a society, we are eating, we're eating too much food and we're not getting rid of those calories. They're sticking around. We're spiking insulin. It's being stored as fat. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really misleading for the person who's trying to lose weight, or they can't figure out why they're stuck at a plateau, because we've come to expect these larger serving sizes as normal. Okay, so very misleading. We talked briefly over the past few weeks about some of the factors that lead to plateaus or gaining weight and not being able to lose it. So things like sugar. We talked about the importance of mindset. We talked about lack of activity, how it's important to get moving. But today we're going to tackle portion sizes, because that's something that's essential if you are trying to create a lifestyle. And really that's what we're doing here, is we're creating a lifestyle. So we want to learn things that we can apply, whether we're at home, whether we're out in a restaurant, whether we're traveling, that will always be consistent, so we can always maintain or continue to move towards our goals. Okay, really important. So before we get into some of these tips, though, I want to say one of the best things you can learn, and we've talked about this before, but I'm going to keep reminding you, is we've got to learn to listen to our bodies. So knowing when we're actually hungry versus just emotionally hungry, and we talked about that when it comes to emotional eating, but knowing when we're actually hungry, knowing the difference between hunger and emotion, but also knowing when you're full. So if you sit down to eat a meal and you're eating it slowly, which we'll talk about in a moment, and you're being mindful, you want to stop eating when you are just about to be full. Okay, that's the perfect time for your body. And by the way, it takes about 20 minutes after you've eaten a food for your body to realize that you are full. So if you're sitting down and you're eating really, really quickly, you're going to be overfull. And overfull is when we start to store calories, store energy that we don't need. And of course, that's going to lead to weight gain. Okay, so stop eating when you're almost full, and no matter where you are, this is going to apply. So maybe you're traveling in the Bahamas, or you're with your son at his hockey tournament. If you're just eating until you are almost full, you will be right on for what you need at that time. Okay, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. We don't know this right away, especially because of all the sugar cravings and the insulin off balance. We've got to stabilize that first, and then come to know what we need as individuals. Okay. Portion sizes. Now, there's so many different ways to do this. I have a scale. I have so many little gadgets up in the kitchen, but the one thing that I always use that is with me all the time is my hands. Okay, so I'm going to explain that to you, because yes, you can measure the food, you can weigh the food, absolutely, but let's just go with our hands. So you've heard, some of you have heard me talk about this before, but there's a couple things that I didn't really get into, and I want to address today. So we've got your protein. So if you're figuring out how much chicken to have or how much steak to have, you just look at the size and thickness of your palm, and that's about 3 to 4 ounces, okay? 3 to 4 ounces, that's perfect for your body. So your hand may be smaller than your husband's, but that's going to be good for him, and this will be good for you. So the size and thickness of your palm. Now, if you put your thumbs together like this, that is how much cheese is one serving, okay? Not this, but this. Okay, 1 serving of cheese. Put your thumbs together, and that's 1 serving of cheese. So 2 thumbs together. So really important when you're adding to a salad, or if you're cooking, that's really easy to go overboard on because it's so delicious. Now, carbs is the next thing. So if you close your fist, this is going to be your serving of carbs, but this is where people often get confused. Okay, your palm, or your fist rather, is about the size if you were having vegetables or fruit. So if I take an apple, this one's a little bit bigger, but that's about a serving of fruit, okay? But if you're having pasta, cooked pasta, or you're having rice, or you're having quinoa, or you're having potato, because we've learned last week that starchy carbs have 3 times the amount of carbohydrates as a regular carb, you're gonna only do half your fist, okay? And that's where some people go overboard, is they just have their whole fist rather than half their fist. So if you go back to that plate of pasta and you think, is that half of my fist? Most of the time it's not. So how can you make up for that is you just fill the rest of your plate with vegetables. You go half of your fist with starchy carbs. Okay, vegetables would be a whole fist, and you can load up on vegetables. Vegetables are awesome. You know, in other plans, they've been free. I think if you're, you know, hungry, go for the vegetables. But one serving of vegetables, that's about a cup. Okay, now with your fruit, you got to be careful because here's your fist and here's a banana, and you could probably get 3 fists or 2.5 or so for a banana. So if you put these in your shake, you want to be careful because you're probably having about 3 grams of 3 servings of fruit, which is going to be more carbohydrate than you actually need for that meal. So what you can do is you can just cut this into 3, and then we'll peel it first, cut it into 3, freeze it, and then for your shake, use 1/3 of the banana. When it's frozen, it will expand and it will give you more banana, you know, then it'll make it feel like it's a full banana rather than half banana. So you gotta be really careful there. Now, nuts and seeds, okay? So if you're looking at a serving of nuts and seeds, I've got some pumpkin seeds here. You're looking at about 1/4 of a cup is the palm. Oh my gosh, how am I gonna do this? You guys get my point, right? So that is about 1/4 of a cup, and you want it just in the palm of your hand, okay? So the palm of your hand is 1/4 of a cup, and this is where it gets cool. The tip of your thumb is a teaspoon. So if you're cooking and you need a teaspoon, you can look at that. If you want a teaspoon of nuts, you can look at that. A tablespoon is your full thumb, okay? So a tablespoon is your full thumb. A teaspoon is the top of your thumb. So if you're having a tablespoon of nuts, you can just measure that out, and that's what it will look like. And then, of course, you know, 1/4 of a cup of anything is going to be about in the palm of your hand, not overflowing, about in the palm of your hand. And then you've got 3 to 4 ounces-ish of protein here, and then you got your carbohydrate, okay? So that can go anywhere with you. I would take that and just be aware of that. Now, well, when you're packing your lunches or when you're making food at home, I would first lay everything out on a plate so you know what that looks like. Because often when we're packing things in containers for lunch, or we're putting things out on a large plate for a meal, we lose all of this, the half, the 1/4 of a cup, the tablespoon, or the teaspoon rather, we lose that all. So I would take the time to figure out what that looks like in your life. Maybe you use the same lunch container every day, and you can kind of measure as to what that needs to come to, because it's really easy to go overboard when you're looking at something that you think is a correct serving size, but you haven't really measured it yet. So I don't love measuring on a daily basis, because I think we can learn this method, but the first time I think it's really important, just so you can understand exactly how much of something that you're having and know what that looks like for you. Because those containers, sometimes for lunches, you can be piling stuff in. You can have 2 or 3 cups of your carbohydrate or of your rice, when really you only want that half cup as a serving of cooked, and that's cooked, by the way, okay? So another tip, if you are having a snack of, say, chips, or of popcorn, or of even those little rice cakes, because everything is about moderation, look at the serving size, take them out and put them on a plate, and then eat them. Because when we're grabbing things and we're grabbing the bags, we forget all of those things we just talked about, and that's really easy to load up on the calories, okay? Now, this is great to know, but what happens when you go out to a restaurant and you're not cooking the food? You know, how are you gonna figure that out? So I wanted to just show you how calories can really add up. So I've taken a few things here. So this is supposed to be Red Lobster, but I realized I actually printed out the wrong photo, but it is supposed to be Red Lobster. And the reason I printed it is because I like seafood, and I've always thought of seafood as a healthy option, of course, depending on the type of seafood that you are having. But I was really surprised to learn that the make your own platter at Red Lobster, which is really a combination of 3 dishes. In this case, although this isn't the photo, there's the coconut shrimp, there's Alfredo, there's a Walt's favorite, and there's fries, Caesar salad, one of their biscuits, which always is so good, and a lobsterita, which I guess is kind of like a margarita. 3,600 calories. 3,600 calories, 37 grams of fat. Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you. And 6,530 milligrams of sodium. Okay, wow, right? So interesting how all of that adds up. I have another one here. This is something my teenage son would love. This is the Wendy's, I think it's the triple, and I'm just showing you a couple of these because it's, whoa, like you think, oh my gosh. And you've probably heard this before or seen this before, but 1,090 calories, 30 grams of fat, 1,910 milligrams of sodium, okay? Now, you probably expect that from those photos I showed you, but something you may not expect. This is if you've ever eaten at Freshie before. So, a chain that markets themselves as healthy. Here is the Baja wrap. And I'm showing you this because when I was away from March Break in Thunder Bay last week, I was trying to figure out things I could have. And I went and I found this wrap and I thought, okay, this looks good. There's quinoa in there. There is avocados. There's cabbage, which is really good for you. There's avocado. There's green onions. There's all, great stuff, which is awesome. So I ordered it and I ate the whole thing. I think I went there twice. And, you just make assumptions. You think what things add up for calories. And then I came home and as I was researching this, there is 640 calories in what appears to be a very healthy wrap with 31 grams of fat, 79 grams of carbohydrates, with only 15 grams of protein. Okay, only 15 grams of protein. Keep in mind that we need to have protein to balance things out. Yes, there's a lot of fat there, but we need protein as well, and 7 grams of sugar. Okay, now, how could I have handled this better? The best thing to do would have been to order one of these and just have half and save the other half for later, because if I only had half, that would have been 320 calories, which is great. That is great. And if I sat and ate it slower, probably would have worked better as well, because often we order this stuff, like we'll go to Pita Pit, another great option, or Subway, these are all good options, but we're just having too much. And if we just cut it in half, we can still eat healthy and we can still control the amount of calories we have, and we can have the rest for later, or balance it out with a salad. And we'll talk about that for a moment. So especially with Freshie, because I was on their website and I was looking, and this was at the lower end. This 640 calorie wrap was at the lower end. So if you do eat there, there are, there's great food, healthy options, good options for things like burgers, but be wary the portion sizes. You got to be really careful. Cut them in half, even cut them in quarters, or share. Okay, really important to mention, because you wouldn't think that with things like that. Okay, so what happens if you're traveling or you're at hockey tournaments, as so many of us moms are, and you're in arenas all the time, you're driving around? What do? Okay, and I get that question a lot. So first of all, I think there's things you can do before you leave to prepare for that weekend that can really help you, or the day. So the first thing is you want to have a pack of portable snacks that you can take with you in a cooler, whatever, but having things like fruit, nuts and seeds to balance that blood sugar. Nuts and seeds, you can have hard-boiled eggs in there. You can have veggies in there. You can have hummus in there. You can have popcorn. You want to go for the organic popcorn, so it's not genetically modified, and you want to stay away from the microwave and all those chemicals, the microwave popcorn. But you can have all of that there. So if you run into a situation like the Baja wrap, right? You can get half of this wrap, and then you can fill with those other great things you have, all those vegetables. Okay, so that's the first thing. Number 2 is you want to take your water bottle with you. And I know when you're traveling, it's harder because you're going to have to stop to go to the washroom. But as soon as your water goes down and it's off, those cravings are going to come back. Everything's going to be off. So it's really important to make sure you're still continuing to drink water. So every time you're ordering food, make sure you're having water with it instead of a calorie-filled beverage, okay? Or you can have herbal tea throughout the day. You can take some herbal tea bags with you and just get hot water and put those herbal tea bags in, and then you've got that the whole day. Or carry your mug with you, get it refilled with boiling water, and then you've got that, and there's no calories in it, but it will also help keep your water levels where they should be. And that formula is 1 ounce per kilogram of body weight. Okay, we've talked about that a lot, but I can't stress it enough. 1 ounce per kilogram of body weight. Make sure your water is up. I know my water last week from just being away and helping my mom move was off, and it throws everything off. Like your cravings come back, you're tired, get your water back up. It's so important. We talked about just eating half. So in this case, just having half the wrap. It's okay to eat at, if the only thing you can find is a hamburger, then you know what? Have half of that hamburger, or ditch the bun and have only part of that bun and have the whole patty. Like, there's ways around it. It's just knowing what to have, where you can order the burger and then you can have a salad or fill with some of those other portable snacks we talked about. But don't stress. If you're somewhere and you're saying, oh my gosh, there's nothing for me to eat, what am I going to eat? That's a mindset shift as well. There will be something for you to eat, but you just have to be sometimes creative, or, go back to the basics of when you're hungry, and stopping when you're almost full. So if you are out and you're having that burger or that hot dog, that's the only option for you. Eat slowly, don't eat the whole thing, and stop when you're just about full. Or if you are, you are slow and you're really hungry, you eat the whole thing, but just be very careful that you know that, okay, I am full now, and I'm eating because, I know that in 20 minutes I'm going to be full. So really important. And the mindset piece is important because in the past, I've talked about this concept, and we will discuss it. I believe it's the next week or the week after, but it's your reticular activation system. So basically what you focus on grows. So that's why I'm always saying, watch what you're saying to yourself. Watch what you're saying about yourself to other people. Watch what you're saying out loud, because what you focus on grows. And if you're constantly saying, I can't find anything, there's unhealthy options wherever I go, you're never going to find something. You've got to change that mindset. Look for possibility, so you've got options there and you can get through. And please, don't feel guilty. You do what you can. You do your very best in the situation, and that's all you can do. Okay, and of course you use the hand method, right? All those things for portion sizes. Once again, about 20 to 30 minutes before your body realizes it's full. So what we do is we sit down and we eat this whole wrap, myself included, and you eat fast. You're having a conversation, and before you know it, you've consumed 700 calories, and then a half hour later, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so full. Slow down, chew, and then realize when you are almost full. Now, that's when you're on the go. But what happens if you want to go to a restaurant? And for many of us, going out to eat, it's a great experience, and we want to do this, and we don't want to stop doing it. We want to enjoy. And there are ways to still do it in a way where you can stay on track. And the first thing to do is really get prepared before you go. So you want to make sure your water is topped up. Absolutely. You want to have a protein-rich snack, and we've talked about this when it comes to things like Easter dinner or Christmas dinner. You want to have something with protein. You want to have something with fat and a little bit of carbohydrate to round things out for you, so energy is stable, and you can do that before you go out. So never go out completely hungry. But also checking the menu before you go is a really great option. So if you can, go online and you know the place you're going and you love this place, and go online and see what your options are, and see, okay, I can have this. This makes more sense. I know they have that. I know they have salads. And you can even build an exercise. So for example, we'll often go downtown to Toronto. We'll just go for a night. We might stay over, or we're going to go out to eat, but we pick a place where we have to walk, and it's easy to do in Toronto, maybe not as easy to do depending on where you live, but parking the car a little bit further, going for a walk after, building in that exercise component can be really helpful. It's going to make you feel better as well, especially if you do feel really full. Remember this when you go out to eat, that you are the boss. You are paying the bill, and it is okay to ask a lot of questions, to give specific instructions. You're the one paying the bill, and that's why they're there. They're offering you a service, so take advantage of that. I know with us, we have allergies in our house with our son, and we've got to be really specific, but it's in the questions you ask. Of course, it's how you ask them, but just knowing what you want. So you want to go for grilled. You want to watch out for the creamy sauces. You also want to look for a ton of, go for more vegetable-based foods rather than the complex carbohydrates, and go back to that rule of the palm. Okay, so if you're looking at a plate, you're going to have about half of the plate you want to have vegetables loaded up with veggies, a salad or whatever loaded up with veggies, and then you want to have a part of the plate with your complex carb, and then the other part with your protein. And you can kind of see it that way. It's a little bit easier to imagine it. But I love going out to eat because I feel like someone is doing the work, and I can tell them, okay, I want grilled chicken, and my husband will tell you I do this. I want grilled chicken. Can I substitute that for this? And okay, I'll have to pay more, but can I have the salad? And you be specific. It's okay to ask those questions, and I think we have to be okay with that, because why are we going to pay someone to take in something that's not going to benefit us or move us in the direction of our goal, right? So just knowing that it's okay. You can also do things like when they bring the plate, you can ask them to take away like 2/3 of it, or pack up half of it right away, or leave the bread basket off the table. Watch the sugars, it'll bring on the cravings. And when it comes to alcohol, this is another interesting fact about alcohol, is just moderate consumption, because one glass of wine, depending on how much they're pouring, like a regular serving is about 90 calories, but when they're serving it, sometimes it can get up to like even 280 calories. So if you're having your meal, say you're going to have a steak and some salad, and maybe you'll have a little bit of a baked potato, but then you're adding the glass of wine on top of that, that's 280 calories. And all of a sudden, we're at that Red Lobster meal or almost. So you want to just think about that, okay? And finally, you can order a soup or a salad to start. And no matter what you're doing, remember that tip that you can take with you anywhere. Get in touch with, are you actually hungry? I'm going to eat slowly. I think we talked about this before, 32 chews with your food. And when you slow down and do it, oh my gosh, right? You slow down and you actually chew your food. Wow. But 32 chews, you're mindful, and then only eat until you're almost full. No matter where you are, that can apply, whether you're traveling or what. I've just noticed the YouTube videos that have popped up. I'm sorry, guys. That's really funny. Anyway, okay, so that is it for today. So all of that stuff, I'm going to send you an email detailing those serving sizes, just so you've got them. And I'll post the rebroad if you wanted to watch this again, or if there was something you had. If you have any questions about today's broadcast, just comment below and we'll make sure that we answer those next time. We'll address those next time, because as always, I'm over time. I'm at about 26 minutes now, but fabulous job, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Can't wait to see you at class. Come ready to sweat. We're burning calories this week, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.